Hello students and family, I am Ms. Leonard, and in this video we are going to discuss fractions, decimals, and percents, terminating and repeating decimals, and how to find a missing number when you're working with equivalent fractions. So I'm going to share my screen to your Google Form assignment and walk through the notes and through some of the problems with you. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to discuss how to turn a fraction in, when we have a fraction, we just divide. 3 divided by 5, that turns it into a decimal, so 0.6. Then we move the decimal place over 2 place values to get it into a percent. So to get a fraction into a percentage, first we need to turn it into a decimal and then move it over 2 place values. So from a decimal to a percent, you can see move the decimal places 2 places to the right, or you can multiply it by 100. Percent to a fraction, you're going to put the percent over 100, drop the percent symbol, then reduce the fraction till its simplest form, because every percent is over 100 per 100 is what percent means. To do a decimal into a fraction, you're just going to put that decimal, use the place value of the decimal to write the denominator of a fraction. So if it's in the 10th place, it's going to go over 10. So remember the 10th place is the first one. If it is in the 100th place, which this one is, then you're going to put 6 over 100 and simplify that fraction to its simplest form. So with these helpful posters, I would suggest referring back to them when you are converting back and forth. So when you're going from a percent, from a decimal to a percent, or from a percent to a decimal, then you would move it over 2 place values. And so you would choose the correct answer option. Make sure if you are turning a fraction into a percent, you turn it into a decimal first, then move it over 2 places. Make sure that you're moving it 2 place values, not 1, 2. So after you finish those first few questions that ask you to see which one is bigger, I suggest turning them both into decimals, then comparing. So 1 divided by 3, and then 75%, turn that into a decimal, and then compare their decimals. You're going to order these from least to greatest. I suggest you think of them as money, and since they're all to the thousands place, you can drop off that 0 and ignore it. So you have 24 compared to 204 compared to 240. So you're going to order those from least to greatest, or identify them. Are they all the same number, or are they different? You're going to continue to change that one, or which one does not belong. So I suggest turning them all into decimals, then comparing their decimals to pick out the one that is not the same. So which is not a way to express 15 out of 25. I suggest turning each one of your decimal choices, or 15 out of 25, into a decimal and comparing which one does not fit. On the next video, we are going to compare terminating and repeating decimals. Hello again. Terminating decimals are going to have a finite number of digits. That means those are numbers that end. So they stop right there. There's no dot, dot, dot. There's no line. That's it. That is the whole decimal right there, and it doesn't go on forever. This also must be a rational number. And so terminating decimals will be able to convert into fractions. And since they can convert to fractions, that means that they are rational numbers. So we have 3 digits. That is a finite number, 3. Then we have 4 digits, 1 digit. And so any finite number is great, as long as that decimal stops and it doesn't go on forever. It could be any whole number, like the number 3 is a terminating decimal because it's a decimal that stops. A repeating decimal, it has a digit or a block of digits after the decimal point that repeats without ending. So it's also a rational number. It could be represented as a fraction, like 0.4 repeating. And you can see that it has the dots at the end. It can also be written as a bar notation. So you can write it as a fraction, which is a rational number, or you can show it as dots or with that bar notation. That is called a vernaculum. Vinacilum. And the vinacilum goes on top of the digits that are repeating. So as we notice, we have 0.3636 repeating. So we're going to put the bar over the 3 and the 6 because both of those digits are repeating. Now, let's look at the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is repeating, so we're going to put the bar on top of those. Then on this last decimal, only the 4 is repeating, so we're only going to put the bar on the 4 as my repeating digit. So the first few questions, it's going to ask you to identify if it is a terminating or repeating decimal. And then it's going to ask you to identify which one of these are repeating decimals. So you're going to choose a few or one of them that are a repeating decimal. Then you're going to identify which one is terminating and which one is the repeating. All right, in the next video, in the next part of the video, we will discuss how to find the missing values of a fraction. Hello, let's go ahead and share our screen. With equivalent fractions, you are going to start with a given ratio, 2/3, and you're going to either multiply or divide that to get your next fraction, or your equivalent fraction. So if it gives me only that 6 on the bottom, I know that 3 times 2 equals 6. So since 3 times 2 equals 6, I know that my dilation is by 2. So I know that I'm going to multiply by 2 on the top, on the numerator, and on the denominator. And I can continue to do that and make more and more equivalent fractions, as long as I do the same thing to the numerator and the denominator. Now, when we're trying to identify an equivalent ratio with solving proportions, we have 9/15 is equal to x/5. So I know that my finished number, my finished part of my fraction is the denominator with 15 and 5. So I need to see, what do I have to do that 15 to get 5? Well, I know that I have to divide that by 3. So since I divided the bottom by 3, I need to do the same thing to the top. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. So I know that I'm going to do the division by 3, and I'll have x is 3, because 9 divided by 3 is 3. You can also check your answer by plugging that into the fraction and noticing that it does work out. So you just have to figure out what is the rate. It gives you the rate in these problems. So 2 times 2 is 4. So you have to do the same thing to the top and identify your answer. All right, once you're finished with those few questions, the first 2 are multiple choice and the rest of them are short answers. So you'll just plug in a number. So the missing equivalent fraction, you can put that number in. And then once you're finished with these questions, you can submit, and you are finished with this 24-question Google form. So I hope you learned all that you need to know about fractions, decimals, percents, terminating and repeating decimals, and finding that missing number. So if you have any more questions, please reach out to me and I will work one-on-one with you. Remember, we have office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you guys for watching.